Good morning. I hope you're well. I hope you're happy. And I hope that today what I share with you is going to be of value to you, because I always try to share something that I think is useful, whether it's something I learned somewhere, whether it's something I found that's a great idea. Let's go with that. Let's go with the something I found that's a great idea. Now, I've spoken to a lot of business owners over the last few months, and there seems to be a common thread. In fact, it's not just business owners. This thread seems to be running through everywhere. And it is, I don't quite have enough money for that, or I don't have enough money, or I just wish I had a little bit more money. I've lost clients because they're not working or not doing as much work, and so on and so forth. And that's where an awful lot of people seem to be. And I have to say, it absolutely breaks my heart. Then somebody introduced me to something that I took a long time to look at because I couldn't quite understand it. And you know, the terrible thing is I still don't quite understand it. But, and I don't like not understanding things because I'm too much of a control freak. Well, who can ever be too much of a control freak? There's no such thing, is there? You can't be too much of a good thing. Anyway, so I don't quite understand it. And because I don't quite understand it, I'm still slightly afraid of it and still trying to learn it and still a little bit confused about it, but it works. So I should just forget trying to control everything and just run with it. So let me ask you a couple of questions. If you wanted to find out about something, who would you go to? Would it be the first person that came up with the idea because they probably know more about it than anybody else and are trustworthy? Yeah, I would. If you wanted to investigate a company, would you trust it if it was created by somebody who'd created another company in the similar area that was wildly successful? Yes, probably. Okay, well, based on that, I'll tell you about it then. Some years ago, I think it was something like 2012, I think the president signed a law that made it possible for people to support each other financially without having to create on profits. I think that's, double check that for me if you are legal and let me know for sure, but that's my understanding of it. Okay. That means that anybody can give money to anybody for no particular reason. And a couple of companies were created, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, remember those if you're an inventor. And they were created so that people who had a product that they wanted to sell but didn't have the funding to create it properly or make enough of them to sell could get funding by posting their idea on a website somewhere, and people who had money would say, hey, I'll do that. And there were all sorts of things. As I said, normal inventions. And then there were people who wanted to write a book that said, if you give me X amount of money, I'll name my hero after you, you know, stuff like that. So you got something in exchange, an advance purchase of a product or something. The drawback with all of these systems is that if the company didn't raise all the money they needed, the money would be given back to the people and they couldn't even get started, because even some money would be better than nothing and they would get nothing. Then somebody came up with a bright idea. Actually, a chap called David Rosen came up with a bright idea that maybe people need money just because they need money. They're not necessarily inventing something or making something. Maybe they need it to pay school fees or pay credit card debt, or they've just had a horrendous diagnosis and they've got loads of fees coming up and they need a bit of extra money for that. Maybe there should be something to help those people. So GoFundMe was born, which works brilliantly. I know loads of people who've used it for both of the things I mentioned, actually, to pay for training, schooling, and to pay for medical care. Because there are certain things sometimes that your medical coverage just doesn't cover. And people have all sorts of other expenses as well. And my husband ran a program for a while to help with the Lakota Indians in Dakota, building a rehabilitation center, that kind of stuff. So lots of charitable organizations, non-profits, as we call them here in the US, use that system as well. Okay, let's go back to David Rosen. He, having had this brilliant idea, kept on having ideas, and he then came up with the idea that maybe it would be possible to have people give money to each other for no particular reason at all. And maybe if you needed money, but you donated money to somebody, and then you invited people to donate to you and to donate to somebody else, that could become a thing. And it has, and it did. And it went through a number of different iterations, and it got, they changed the way it was funded, and the money was organized and structured and so on and so forth. And now there is a program that allows you to donate funds to the person who talked to you about it. And then you invite other people to donate funds, and you get half of it and someone else gets half of it, and so it goes. And it's actually working. So when I'm talking to people who say, I would love to hire this coach, but I can't afford it, or I'd love to start this business, but I can't afford it, or I'd love to start a homeschooling group with my, with some mums that I know locally, but we need some money for supplies or something, I now know where to send them to get that. And that is a great feeling for me. It's kind of nice having a little bit of surprise money appearing as well. And of course, for the people ahead of me in the organization, and for the lovely David Rosen, who created yet another genius idea, which is going to help the communities that we live in beyond our wildest dreams. So it's kind of like an MLM structure in a way. I know a lot of people don't like MLM organizations, and I ask myself why. A lot of people say, ooh, is this a pyramid scheme? Which is interesting. There's a very funny cartoon video that's 10 years old now on YouTube about a pyramid scheme. It's a conversation between two cartoon characters, and it's absolutely hilarious. Check it out. Look for it. If you can't find it, message me and I'll see if I can find it and send you the direct link, because it's a very funny conversation. But basically, the structure of an organization of any kind at all looks like a triangle. Okay, it's not a pyramid, it's a triangle. And the boss sits at the top, and then he has two vice bosses, vice presidents sometimes. They sit on top of the department heads, and so on and so forth. That is the normal structure of an organization. It's the same in a home. You've just got a couple of parents and then all the kids underneath. Or a school, headmaster, deputy heads, teachers, students. The way it's always been. It's a triangle. It's called a pyramid for some reason, but it's a triangle. So any organization operates on that level. The difference when you're in a multi-level marketing company is that you support and help the people underneath you, and potentially someone further down can make more money than the person at the top. Whereas in a normal pyramid structure in an organization, the only person who really makes any money is the person at the top, and the people at the bottom slog their guts out to make sure that the person at the top makes lots of money. And if they're a nice person at the top, the people at the bottom get bonuses, but that always gets taken away from the person at the top. In MLM, it's completely different. There's a triangle structure which is supportive of the people in the structure, in the organization. If you can't get support from the person who's directly above you, you go above that. You make sure the people below you are supported. You take responsibility. I did a lot of interviews with a lot of women in all sorts of different organizations and businesses a couple of years ago and last year, and they all talked about how having a support system helped them build their business. One of the reasons that coaching is an exploding industry at the moment is because people feel supported. People are more successful when they feel as though they're supported. It doesn't matter what kind of business it is. It doesn't matter if it's kids sitting at home being schooled online because, excuse me, because the schools are closed. In a supportive environment, we thrive. If you think back in history, we are pack animals, just like dogs are. They work in a symbiotic, supportive environment in the wild. So did we, and so do we now. The modern world has separated us, has put us all in our individual little houses away from our families and our original communities. And strangely enough, we don't seem to be doing as well as we used to. And we crave the support of an organization. It's a natural thing. It's part of nature. Nature includes animals, which includes geese. And if you read any of the promotion work we were doing about this upcoming talk, you'll know that we talked about a lesson that we learned from geese. So I'm going to read you something now, all to do with triangle shapes and geese, right? Not pyramids and not MLMs, but triangle shapes and geese. Yes, geese, those things that flap their Wow, the wonders of modern technology. Hey, so let's go back. I was about to tell you an amazingly wonderful story from nature about triangles and geese. And this is something that I only heard the other day. It was written in 1992, although I only heard about it the other day. And of course, that makes it an old story, but it's an even older phenomenon. So I don't know exactly where I lost you, but I'm going to start from the beginning again. It was written by Harry Clark Noyes, Noyes, for ARCS News. It says volume 7, number 1. Don't know what that means. January 1992. Okay, and this is a very powerful story. It's not very long. I'm going to read it to you word for word. Next fall, when you see geese heading south for the winter, flying along in V formation, you might consider what science has discovered as to why they fly that way. As each bird flaps its wings, it creates an uplift for the bird immediately following. So by flying in a V formation, the whole flock adds at least 71% greater flying range than if each bird flew on its own. People who share a common direction and a sense of community can get where they're going more quickly and easily because they're traveling on the thrust of one another. Okay, just like the geese. When a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels the drag and resistance of trying to go it alone and quickly gets back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the bird in front. So if we have as much sense as a goose, we will stay in formation with those who are headed the same way that we are. Now, when the head goose gets tired, it rotates back in the wing and another goose flies point. So another goose flies point. It's sensible to take turns doing demanding jobs with people or with geese flying south. Geese honk from behind to encourage those up front to keep up their speed. What do we say when we honk from behind? Finally, and this is important, when a goose gets sick or is wounded by gunshots and falls out of formation, 2 other geese fall out with that goose, follow it down to lend help and protection. They stay with the fallen goose until it is able to fly or it dies. Only then do they launch out on their own or with another formation to catch up with the group. And if we have the sense of the goose, we will stand by each other like that. So there's a slightly different perspective on the triangle, the pyramid, the V shape. Okay, the person in front doesn't stay there forever. They rotate. The fact that they're flying in that formation means that they all fly better than they would do on their own. When one is hurt in some way, 2 of them go to protect and look after that one. Human beings have a lot to learn from nature. And I love the idea that we can be in an environment where it's not always the same person that does all the work, that we lift each other up by supporting each other, by being in a group environment. And we're honking from behind to help the ones in front. And sometimes we take a step back to help someone catch up. I love all that stuff. That's how the world needs to be, with everything, not just the geese. So that is why sometimes I align myself to people or things or companies or opportunities or products that I feel are flying in V formation. Not pyramids, not even triangles, but they're flying in V formation. So, hey, Blair. Yes, honk honk to you too. I love the story as well. So does anyone have any questions or any comments apart from Blair? All right. So going back to the beginning, the crowdfunding idea is a way that we can do exactly that, help and support each other. So is coaching. So is my Facebook environment. Now, I lead a live conversation, sometimes an interview, sometimes just me chatting, training on a Tuesday in my Facebook group at 11 a.m. Pacific time. But I don't always have to be in the lead. You can post things in there too. You can participate with the conversation. You can honk from behind with your comments. You can lift each other up. And that's the purpose of the group. And every once in a while, we get the opportunity to share what we do with everybody. It's not a space where everyone can come willy-nilly and bombard everybody else with their business. That's not the point. But there will be opportunities to do that. There's free training, support, and help in a mutually helpful group and environment as well. Somewhere where we will all be flying in V formation to help each other. And it won't always be me at the front. It'll be somebody else occasionally. So that was all I wanted to talk to you about today, actually. Being like geese and supporting each other and presenting an opportunity to you if you need a little bit of a cash injection in your life or your family or your business or somebody else's business or your nonprofit, your church. I could go on and on and on, but I'm not going to, because the spirit I want to get across is flying in V formation, giving each other 71% more lift, because that's the way that we're flying, and honking from behind and stepping out sometimes to help someone who's having trouble. That is the environment that I want to create in my Facebook group. Now, my Facebook group is called Gain and Retain Clients, Solutions for Savvy Business Owners. So if you're looking for solutions, if you're a business owner, if you're savvy, if you want to gain and retain clients, all of that will happen in there and grow your business and make more money, ultimately. That's the group. And this is in the group. So if you're watching this, you're probably in the group already. If you have any questions, please email me. My email address will be on screen in a minute. Andrea@myhomebiz.tips. Tips is in capital letters because it's actually an acronym. It's training, inspiration, partnerships, and services. Because we do training, we inspire each other, we build partnerships of all sorts of different types. We work with each other, we literally hire each other, we support each other in all sorts of different ways, and services, because there are services that My Home Biz Tips sells, which enable businesses to improve their statistics and to grow and get more clients, which brings me back to the Facebook group again. So there you are. There's my story about geese. There's my crowdfunding idea. If you want any more information, you can private message me on Facebook, or you can send an email to Andrea@myhomebiztips. Thank you for watching, for being with me this morning, and for your comments. Honk, honk. Love the story. Thank you. You know where to reach me. And if you've got anything you want to share, let me know. I'll check it out and then we can share. All right. Thank you very much. And I can just see here it says my browser crashed. So that was what the holdup was. And because I was reading something that was not in the same browser, I didn't see that happen. So I apologize for that today. I hope that wasn't too inconvenient for you. And I look forward to seeing you here again next week and possibly in between. And let me know if you've got any questions. And that's it for today. A nice quick one. Have a lovely Tuesday. See you soon. Bye-bye.